I'm hoping that I did. Let's see.
Yep.
If that did the trick. All right. So, hey, everybody. Yeah, if you don't stop applauding, we're never going to actually get to my presentation. So let's just kind of keep it calm for a minute. My name is Kelly Guimont, as Rusty told you, and I want to, well, I want a great number of things. So there we go. The first one is to advance my slide. And if you're kind of wondering who I am, this is who I am. And I tend to be a person who will sit down with a new version of operating system or a new piece of software and click on all the things and push all the buttons and go in all those submenus and see what all of them do. So it's something that I spend a lot of time doing. And as you can see here, it's something I also spend a lot of time talking about. So first, I want to let you know I have over 50 items on my list to share with you today. I do not think we're going to get to all of them, but I'm going to talk about as many as I can. If you have a question during the presentation, normally if I was doing this in a room with other people, I would have you throw your hand up or just shout from the back of the room to make sure that I'm catching up, and that if I've moved too fast over something and you want to hear it again, by all means, let me know. And I'm generally presuming that most people have Face ID phones. And that you're using something with haptic touch, which is what replaced 3D touch. So it's haptic touch or long press. When I talk about those, that's generally what I mean. So I want to make sure everybody knows that part. And I want to just jump in. So we're going to start with accessibility. And I'm going to let you know that there are a lot of things in accessibility that are really awesome, even if you are not a person who relies on accessibility features in order to be able to use your phone effectively. So the first of them is in the Face ID option, you have the choice to require attention, which means you can unlock your phone by sort of having it in the vicinity of your face instead of having to actually lock your eyeballs on the screen. So you can do that, and it's pretty, it can be handy if you find that you do look at your phone and your phone doesn't seem to be picking it up. You can turn off the attention feature, and then as long as it's sort of in your vicinity, that might actually work. And I will also tell you that this is a presentation where I absolutely expect everybody to have their phones out and looking at them. So it's totally fine if you're not looking at me. I don't have a ton of content on my slides or anything, so don't worry about missing stuff on the screen. Get your phone out and start digging into settings. One of the other ones, this is one that I have shared with a lot of people that they've liked very much, which is also in accessibility under audio visual. There's LED flash for alerts. So if you want to have the flash on your camera light up when you get a text message, you can have that happen. And so if you generally put your phone face down so it doesn't make noise, maybe you want to be able to see it, but hearing it or having it buzz is not the best option for whatever situation you're in. You can turn on the flash, and then the flash will show. I find people really like this in a place where it's very loud, because if you are in a place where it's very loud, a lot of times you're pretty active, like you're at a sporting event. Remember sporting events? You're in a place with a whole bunch of other people where it's very loud, there's a lot of background noise or something. You may not be able to hear your phone text message noise go off. You may not feel it against your leg. It may not be in your pants pocket, or it might be in your backpack or something. And being able to have it light up can be handy. Another thing that you can use is the accessibility shortcut, which is pretty awesome. If you use the side button on your phone and you triple click, you can set that to be the shortcut for an accessibility option, or a couple of accessibility options. You can go sort out, like you can basically have it triple click that button, and then you get a list of options to choose from. Mine is currently set to use VoiceOver, to activate VoiceOver. I like VoiceOver because sometimes I can use this to fool the Kindle app into reading my book to me. And also, so I can reduce white point, because sometimes I don't like my screen to be very bright in the first place, but if you know you're going to spend a whole day in a conference, for example, and the lights are going to be low the whole time, it's late at night and you want to make sure that your phone is even darker, you can make it even darker. you know, I don't know if you can get it all the way down to none more black, but you can get it pretty close. And it's sometimes it's nice to not have your phone be super bright. You can also use guided access, which is very handy if you have to give your phone to other people for a certain thing, especially if those people are much younger than you and you want to give them your phone to entertain them for a period of time. You can lock it to a particular app or even to a particular app for a particular amount of time. That can also be a very handy thing. So because then you can hand your phone to, say, a kid and they can do whatever kids do with iPhones. And then when the time is up, or maybe they realize they can't go take a bunch of weird pictures or something, and so your phone isn't fun anymore because all you want to let them do is play the game or read the book, then you can get your phone back. The next one is in accessibility. There's also an option for zoom, and you can zoom in a portion of your screen. So if you are at the point in your life where holding your phone kind of makes you make this face and you feel that your arm isn't quite long enough to be able to read your screen, you can magnify the whole screen a little bit. And when you do that, you can turn it on, and then 3 fingers double tap on the screen will zoom the screen in for you. And then tap again, it zooms back out. So that makes it a very easy thing to, you know, just for a second, you can turn that on. You can also go to settings and cellular and scroll down. You can see the usage, the cell usage of your app. So if you ever need, if you are watching that for something, if you have a data cap, if you just are curious about how much data that app that you installed recently is actually using, you can change that.
Sorry to interrupt you, Kelly, but
no, please
we have a question on accessibility that says, as you're walking at night with the flashlight turned on, is there a way to keep Lift Awake from turning on the screen and killing your night vision?
Not quickly, but you can with the reduced white point. Like if you know you're going to be out walking for a while, if you were to set your triple click to have reduced white point, you can turn that down really far, and that can help. Another thing that I have done, like if I know I'm going to be in a darker situation, is I will change my lock screen to something that is not very bright. And then because I have a more recent phone, anything that's black is simply a pixel that doesn't light up. And so then it's not, it doesn't kill my night vision. So I will use generally something that's black and red as my lock screen, because then red also doesn't blow out your vision and, you know, make it super bright and you can't see anything anymore. So that would be my tip, is either like swap your lock screen or turn on the accessibility option for the reducing white point, because you can reduce that down really, really far. So I was only sort of kidding when I said none more black, because you may actually, because you can get it down to be very, very, very dim if you're using that. And then at least if you're raised to wake, you're not getting something super bright that comes up on your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. And I know that I have, that there's a little bit of a delay between when I'm talking and when you get the chance to jump into the Q&A. So definitely if I go by something and it went too quick, go ahead and jump in. I'm happy to jump back a little bit and clear that up for you. So another thing that you can do, like I said, you can go into settings and then cellular. And I'm giving you a spoiler with my slide for what the next thing is we're going to talk about. But if you go to settings and cellular, you can see all of the usage, and you can also disable cell data per application. That can be the magic. If there's something that is suddenly chewing on your data plan, you can turn that off. If it's an app you still want to keep, you know, you can go just uninstall it if you prefer, but you can go in and tell it like you can't use cellular data. If you have the opposite stance about your data plan and you want, you know, your data plan is Old Country Buffet, then you can go into the iTunes and App Store, and in there where it says app downloads, you can turn off the limit. So if you don't like that limit, or if you've been up against it when you're out and about, you have a way to disable that entirely. In notifications, there's something that can be very handy, which is announce messages. And if you do this, then the S lady I don't want to trigger anybody's phones because I'm hoping everybody has them out. But the S lady will read you your messages and your notifications, and you can have her break into whatever you're listening to and tell you, Rusty sent you a message and said that it's time for your talk at, your campfire session. And you can have it be just people who are in your favorites. You can have it be as long as it's a person in your contacts, or you can have it be if literally anyone sends a message, I want to know who it is. And you can also, as part of that option, you can add to that, wait to hear your reply. And then you don't have to say, hey, in order to get her to send the message back, and she won't read it back to you. So if I get a message that says, Rusty sent you a message and says it's time for your campfire session, she will just wait, and I will say, tell him I'll be right there. And then she just sends, I'll be right there, right back to him. I don't have to say, hey, I don't have to wait for her to read it back to me and make sure it's okay. I don't have to wait for her to ask me if I want to send it. So I do a lot of work in the yard with my AirPods in, and so I have found this to be an immensely handy feature because I don't have to take my phone out while I'm covered in dirt and try and respond to somebody. The next thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about Control Center. Control Center is the bit on your phone where you swipe down from the top right corner with the battery and with your battery and signal strength, and you pull down and you get a little bit of stuff there. There's a lot of things that are neat in there that you may not always know, and a lot of that comes from haptic touch, which I talked about when we started. So you can change the stuff that appears in your Control Center. So if you go into settings, there's a Control Center option. You can just go into Control Center, and once you're there, you can edit, you can customize Control Center, and it will show you the options that you have for the buttons at the bottom of the screen. So there's default ones down there, but you can set them to be other things. So one of the ones that a lot of people like, when I have shown this to people, one that a lot of people like is magnifier. Because again, sort of like Zoom, you can just have a magnifier and then your camera automatically blows up whatever you're pointing at, and it's sort of the live view. So instead of having to open the camera and then zoom in and then point it at whatever you're trying to magnify and take a look, you can just go swipe down, tap on the magnifier, and then point your phone at whatever it is, and you're ready to go. There's also a QR code reader as one of the options. I think you can add like voice memos or something down in there too. So if you want instant access, there are a lot of things that show up as an option that you can add as buttons at the bottom of the view. One of the other cool things in Control Center is that if you touch through on some things, like if you, let's see if I can do it on the screen, if you long press on your Wi-Fi, it will give you Wi-Fi options. So it'll expand the network options that are there. And then if you tap on Wi-Fi, it will show you your Wi-Fi and the other ones around you. So if you need to switch your network, or if you need to tap on Wi-Fi settings, you have the option to go straight to Wi-Fi settings. Also in here, you can see there's a personal hotspot. And if I press through to personal hotspot, it will let me turn it on. You can adjust your Bluetooth settings there as well. And it can be a very handy way to flip back and forth between Wi-Fi networks. If that's something that you're having trouble switching, you can do that really easily. Another thing that you can do in there is, yes.
Just a point of clarification. We are still seeing the settings top level Control Center slide, and that is correct, right?
The slide says Control Center, but my screenshot of the settings app is wrong. So that's awesome.
Okay.
But yes, if you go to settings, at the top level of settings is Control Center, and you can go in Control Center and make customizations there. Okay. And that's where the option is to add and remove things from where from the bottom row of Control Center.
We had a couple other things come up. A comment: if you turn on the flashlight via shortcut, then turn off the phone side button. It has flashlight no screen. That's just a comment from the previous question.
Yes.
But as far as the slides, everyone, we're on the correct slides. They are moving,
yes.
Maybe not as quickly as you might expect.
Yeah. Again, I don't have a ton of slides, and since we were going to spend a while talking about Control Center, That's why we're just sort of sticking to this slide. Speaking of the flashlight, though, another thing in Control Center is if you press and hold on the flashlight, the bar, the flashlight button there at the bottom, you get the option to adjust how bright it is. And I'm not going to do it because it's just going to shine right in my eyes. But you can slide up and down and adjust exactly how much light your flashlight is giving you. So that's another thing that can be handy, which was actually the next thing I was going to say. So because that's a cool thing from Control Center that you can do. You can also tap through to screen mirroring, like anything that's in Control Center, basically you can generally tap through and get a little bit more information. So like if you tap through screen mirroring, it'll pop up the screen and you can choose what you want to send your content to and all of that. So that can be handy as well. And also if you, like one of the things that you can put down in your Control Center, like I have, is the timer. And if you have the timer at the bottom, you can also use the same sort of slide up and down to adjust the time of the timer. And that can be an easy way if you have your phone in your hand and want to do it because you don't want to say, hey, lady, set a timer for X minutes, you can do it right here. So that can be helpful as well. And the next thing that we are going to talk about is I have Today View up here because I skipped way ahead. So we will talk about this for a minute. This is the Today View, and the Today View is when you are on your phone. If you swipe from the first page on your screen, if you swipe from left to right, you sort of get this secondary screen, and you can also get it from the lock screen as well. If you swipe left to right, you sort of get this this view. And with the time kind of right justified, and you get a bunch of widgets there, and you can change what those widgets are and do for you. And that sounds like sort of an obvious thing, but I can't tell you the number of people that I have pointed out that you can customize this. So even if you like everything that's there, and I'm not sure anybody does, because I'm looking at you, Stocks widget, you can adjust the order of them. So if you really like having the, no matter where I am, I can have directions home, you know, in the before times when we went places. If you really like having that, but it's way far down the list, you can move that up higher. You can put your calendar further up. The one that I use in that, hands down, the one I use the most is the battery widget, which will show me the battery on my phone, my watch, my AirPods. And I think it might even show Apple Pencil on my phone. I know it shows it on my iPad. And so you can get a quick glance at battery information. The next one I have down is my phone favorites, and then I have some shortcuts. So there's a lot that you can do with that screen to make it really useful for you if you just take a minute and sort of rejigger what's there. So that can be a really good way to go for the lock screen stuff, because the thing with that is that you don't even have to unlock your phone to use it, which makes it very handy. So the next thing I want to talk about is the phone app, which I know sounds weird, but we're going to talk about it just for a minute. It'll be fine. If you are a person with whom the phone app is not very popular, then this option is for you. Go to the system settings, go to phone, and in phone, you have the option of silence unknown callers. And so if it's a number that's not in your contacts, your phone won't even ring. Like the screen will light up and it'll show the number, but it's not going to show you, it's not going to go off, it's not going to vibrate, it's not going to make any noise, and you don't get them. If you are a person who likes the respond with message option on there, you can change what those are. So in the settings for phone, you go settings, phone, respond with text is where those live, and you can change what they say. So if none of those are quite accurate or they don't sound like something you would normally say, you can always go in and change those to be something that would be like something more like what you would tell somebody. So that can be nice. You can also tell Siri and search to ignore the phone app entirely. So if you normally call somebody at the same time every day, she can suggest that to you later at some point. And if you want her not to do that and you want to keep her out of all of your phone business, you can do that. You can just disable that option, which for some people, security is an actual issue. Like if your work device has some other sorts of restrictions on it, then this may be a thing where you want to continue to lock down the phone information. Another thing that you can do is you can have her, much like messages, you can have her announce incoming calls. This can be great, again, if you use headphones. And it's also, and one of the options is headphones and car, which if you are a person who doesn't have CarPlay yet in your phone, like me, or in your car, like me, you can use this option. And so when you have it connected to Bluetooth in your car, but not necessarily over CarPlay, then she can tell you this is who's calling you. So if you can't see the screen, it doesn't matter. Another thing that you can do with the phone app itself, not just the settings, is again, haptic touch. If you press, it will pop up a little menu for you. And in that menu, you get the first four numbers in your contacts. Another thing that people, I don't know if people know, is that you can set a different phone number for somebody in contacts, in favorites. So I have one favorite for my mom's landline, and I have a different favorite for my mom's cell phone, because most of the time I'm going to need to call her on her landline. So if I want to call her, I have both options available to me. So you can change that. But also once it pops up, you also get options for you can see your most recent call. You can search for a contact or create a new contact, and you can view your latest voicemail right there from the widget. Just press and hold, and it can save you a bunch of tapping in the meantime if you need it. So the next is, let's see, I think I have a new slide here. Yes, like I said, I don't have a lot of slides, so I'm just showing you. This is a screenshot of my friend's phone because I told him that I thought it would be funny to do this to the notch. So this is what his lock screen looks like. So there you go. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the system apps that you have on your device. A very quick tip is in the Measure app. If you go into the Measure app and open it up, on the main screen will be Measure, but you also have the option at the bottom of the screen. It used to be a hidden feature, and now it's a little bit more obvious. At the bottom of the screen, you also have an option for a level, and it will give you a little bubble level on your phone, and you can just lay it down and see how off-center something is. So that sometimes can be very handy as well. Also, with one of the options in a system app is in the clock. If you go to the timer option in the clock app, there's an option under when the timer ends, and it shows you the alarm. But you can change that to be stop playing. So then you can start music playing, set a timer, like if you maybe want to listen to music while you fall asleep. You can set a timer and tell it at the end of the timer, just quit playing music, and then there you go. So sometimes that can be an easier option for other stuff as well. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the camera app, so go ahead and bust that out. One of the easiest ways that you can do that is if you just swipe across, it'll take you to the camera immediately. That does still work, as does pressing the camera button on your lock screen. That's also very easy. You can use haptic touch on the camera app itself. It will give you a selfie or a video, or if your phone has this capability, you can take a photo in portrait mode or a selfie in portrait mode. And then also when you want to take a picture, if anybody remembers burst mode on your phone, you still have that. But what you do is you press your finger on the shutter button at the bottom and then slide to the left, and you'll start hearing, or if you don't have your sound on, feeling a little bit of haptic feedback every time it takes another photo, and you'll see at the bottom of the photo that the number starts ticking up. So if you really enjoyed that on a previous phone and you haven't had it, you can get that back on a Face ID device by pressing the shutter and swiping to the left. If you press the shutter down and swipe it to the right, it will take video just while you have your thumb down for a little bit. And then if you continue swiping to the right, it will basically turn into a video, and that will lock the record button, and then it will just keep recording video. So if you just need to take a video really quick and don't want to swipe all the way through the options at the bottom of the frame, you can do that. You can also tap for where you want focus. So if you're taking a picture on a sunny day and your phone is trying to compensate for the sun or not trying to compensate for the sun, you can fix that by tapping on the thing that you actually want to have focus on. And then if it's not quite right, you'll see when you tap on it that you get a little sort of like a sunshine icon to the right of the focus area. And you can slide that up and down to adjust your brightness, or not brightness if you slide it down. And if you decide that what you want to do is continue to use that setting, maybe you want to take a few pictures and you don't want to have to adjust every time in between. If you tap and hold on your screen, all of a sudden at the top in yellow, it will say AE/AF lock. And that's auto exposure and auto focus is what it's telling you. So those have been locked in place. And then it will leave those there until you tap and hold on the screen again, and then that banner will go away, and then you can use it. So if you want to take a few pictures with a particular exposure, you can always do it that way. And then, as I said, if you just tap where you want to get focused, you can use that. So if you're taking a picture out of a window and you want to focus on the window and you want what's outside to be blurry, you can tap on part of the window and get it to focus there first. Now we're going to move on to contacts. And in contacts, you can, again, just like the phone app, you can let Siri access that or not, if you so desire. I think I have a contact slide. No, this is the camera app. So we'll look at the camera app for a minute on my phone, and everyone can dissect what's on my desk. So with contacts, one of the best things with contacts is that you can set a custom ringtone for somebody and a custom text tone for that person. But also, if you didn't know that, that's very, very cool. I have yet to find a way to set that for a group. So if you want all of your family to have the same text tone, you have to do it for them individually. But you can also set custom vibration for somebody. So if you generally have your phone in your pocket and no sound, you can have it be a particular vibration pattern, and then just you can tell by feeling your, what's buzzing on your leg, who it is that's actually calling you. So that sometimes can be pretty handy. And also, when you go to edit a contact, there's an option in there for emergency bypass, which means this person can get a hold of you no matter what. If your phone is in do not disturb, if temporarily, if it's your scheduled do not disturb time or anything like that, then this person can still break through. If you've got your phone on silent, your phone will still ring if this person calls you, and so that may be a very nice thing to have available. So also, while we're in contacts, make sure you set up an emergency contact. If you haven't done that already, that's a very useful thing to do, and that would be a person who gets called if you end up using the emergency contact option on your phone. With Mac Mail, one of the cool things in Mail is that you can bulk manage everything. So if you click Edit in the top right corner, you can slide your finger down all those little check mark options, and it will check all of them as your finger goes over it. And if you get to the bottom and keep holding, your list will scroll automatically, and you'll just continue to select. And then you have the option of what you want to do with them. You can move them all to a folder, you can mark them all red, or you can move them all to, you can mark them all as
I'm sorry, Kelly. I accidentally hit your microphone instead of mine. Would you please enable your microphone? I cannot enable it for security reasons.
Okay.
I apologize. I meant to hit my microphone, and I was hovering on the wrong spot.
Okay.
It's 1:30 now, and I just wanted to get a couple questions in and see if I just wanted to prompt everyone again, real quick. If you have a Q&A, throw it in real quick. We're going to do a couple here. Before we go to intermission. The one question we had actually was the first one we had, but I wanted to save it for the last. You're stuck on a deserted island and had to rely on one tip or trick to save your life. What would it be?
Oh gosh. Probably the emergency contact, because it would call my husband. And if he went on Find My Friends and couldn't find me, then he would know something was very wrong, and then I would get help, I hope. He might appreciate the peace and quiet. I'm not entirely sure. So I think I would get help eventually. How's that?
Excellent.
Yeah. And I didn't realize when you muted me, I thought, oh, I guess I'm done now. And I'm not even
completely my fault. Absolutely. Okay.
You get to all the serious stuff.
I don't see any other Q&A. I just want to give it a couple seconds to make sure we're caught up.
Okay.
How do you bulk manage emails again? I just tried it, but simply opened preview for that email. Maybe can you
If you are looking at an inbox, a set of messages, if you tap edit in the top right, and I'm going to actually do it on my phone right now to make sure I'm doing it. I'm doing what I say. If you hit edit, then everything scoots to the right, and you get the little bubbles kind of down the left-hand side, the little circles. And if you tap on one and then drag your finger down, it will select. And then if you hold your finger kind of at the bottom edge of where the text of your inbox stops, if you hold your finger there and keep waiting, the list will just continue to scroll.
Now it sounds like if you get a preview, you're doing like a hard click, and this maybe you need a softer touch.
Yeah, this is a lighter touch, and it's on the check boxes. So you have to hit edit first, and then when everything moves over and you get like where you can tap on a bunch of check marks. I guess they're not boxes because they're circles, but if you tap on the check mark and pull down across them and just sort of keep going, then it will automatically tick all those checks for you.
Okay, somebody asked, my shutter button does burst photos and not video.
I'm curious what phone that would be. Okay. If you press and swipe to the left, it should give you burst, and if you press and swipe to the right, you should get video.
Press, okay. And where'd you get the cool shirt?
This is a shirt that Panic Software used to sell, and I got it from them because they're here in town. I live in Portland, and they're downtown. So I picked it up from them ages ago.
Okay. So maybe a 2-finger touch for the shutter video. Somebody suggests, please review again the ways to allow a certain phone contact to break through. Is it only for emergency?
Edit contact. If you open the contacts app and view a contact and then edit that contact. Wait, where did it go? If you edit a contact and tap on ringtone, then in the ringtone options, right at the top of ringtone options, it says emergency bypass. And then that gives you the option for them to break through no matter what.
Okay, and that's per contact. So you're on the contacts there. Great.
Yeah. In contact in ringtone. So then in ringtone is where you find that option.
One last question, and I think we're going to close it up then. Any tips during protests besides using a burner phone?
Yes, I actually covered this on Mac Observer Daily Observations about a week and a half ago or so, a week or two ago, during a Security Friday segment that we did. The first is use a burner phone. The second is if you get that burner phone, don't sign into your own personal stuff upon it. So create a new Twitter account, create a new Instagram account, whatever it is that you want to use and share. Tie it to that phone number and don't tie it to your own information, because it doesn't do you any good to go to all the trouble to get a burner phone and a new phone number and then sign into your Gmail and do everything, or sign into your regular Twitter and do everything. The other would be if you end up in a situation, turn your phone, reboot your phone. If you end up in a situation with law enforcement, reboot your phone, because when it comes up, it will want a passcode, and you are not legally required to unlock your phone with a passcode. You can be compelled to put your thumb on the Touch ID or to unlock it with your face, but but to enter the passcode is still protected. So those would be the top things right from the get-go.
Fantastic, thank you. Kelly, thank you very much for taking the time to deliver today's first Campfire session. We'll really have to have you back and get through some more of those tips. I think you had so many more, and they were all great.